Dr. Elena Winters stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Defense Institute, her dark eyes reflecting the shimmer of distant stars. The massive space station, hovering at the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy, housed the most brilliant minds in defensive technology development from across 17 different species. As the only human selected for this year's Paramount Defense Initiative, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The main chamber buzzed with activity as participants from various worlds gathered for Director Nixtal's announcement. Towering Centaurians with their crystalline bodies stood next to the floating Medusan scholars, while the hive-mind Valerians occupied a corner, their synchronized movements creating an ethereal dance of purpose. Distinguished participants, Director Nixtal's voice resonated through the chamber, his holographic form materializing at the center. The director's quantum state existence allowed him to be everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. You represent the finest minds in defensive technology. Our challenge this cycle is unprecedented: create a defense system that can adapt to any form of attack, protect against all known weapons, and ensure the survival of its user. Elena noticed the subtle shift in the room's atmosphere. Next to her, Commander Vix Thor of the Arcturus Military Academy flexed his biomechanical arms, already calculating power requirements. The Medusan scholar Pelme's tentacles writhed with excitement, likely processing quantum equations. You have 3 standard months, Nixtal continued. All resources within the Institute are at your disposal. The winning design will be implemented across the Galactic Federation's defense network. As the other participants rushed to secure lab spaces and begin their work, Elena remained still, her mind racing with possibilities. Her attention was drawn to Kreldor, the Synapse warrior scientist, who was already sketching designs for what appeared to be a quantum shield generator. Rather overwhelming, isn't it, human? The smooth voice belonged to Zyxthar, the leading weapons developer from the Proxima system. His bioluminescent skin pulsed with what Elena recognized as amusement. I hear your species still uses primitive kinetic barriers for planetary defense. Elena smiled, unfazed. Sometimes the simplest solutions hide the most complex wisdom, she replied, her mind already forming connections that none of her competitors would expect. Growing up on Earth, she had spent years studying how nature defended itself. From the adaptive camouflage of octopi to the collective defense mechanisms of ant colonies, Earth's organisms had developed incredible defensive strategies over millions of years of evolution. In her private lab, Elena began not with weapon schematics or shield calculations, but with biological data from Earth's ecosystems. Her workstation came alive with holographic displays showing everything from the immune system's response to pathogens to the way forest networks communicated through fungal webs to protect against threats. Initialize Project Gaia, she commanded her AI assistant. Begin analysis of Earth's defensive biological systems, focusing on adaptive and collaborative protection mechanisms. While the others worked with conventional energy shields and quantum barriers, Elena saw something different. She saw the potential for a defense system that didn't just block attacks but learned from them, adapted to them, and grew stronger with each challenge, just as life on Earth had done for billions of years. Hours turned into days as she worked, barely noticing the curious glances from passing aliens. Her lab became a strange hybrid of biological research station and engineering workspace. Where others had weapon testing chambers, she had environmental simulators. Where they had power core prototypes, she had models of neural networks based on Earth's most resilient organisms. One evening, as she was deep in her work, Director Nixtal's holographic form appeared in her lab. Your approach is unusual, Dr. Winters, he observed, studying her biological models with interest. The best defense isn't always about having the strongest walls, Elena explained, pulling up a simulation of her developing system. It's about having walls that can think, adapt, and evolve. Intriguing, Nixtal's form flickered thoughtfully. But will it be enough against the raw power of quantum shields and plasma barriers? Elena's eyes sparkled with determination. Nature has been perfecting defense mechanisms for billions of years on Earth. We didn't just survive, we thrived. Sometimes the most powerful solutions come from understanding rather than overwhelming force. As Nixtal's form dissolved, Elena turned back to her work. The preliminary trials were approaching, and she knew her unconventional approach would face intense scrutiny. But as she watched her simulations run, showing defense patterns that mimicked the collective intelligence of ant colonies and the adaptive capabilities of neural networks, she felt a surge of confidence. The universe was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in our technology, but in our ability to learn from the world around us. And Elena Winters was ready to prove it. The Institute's central laboratory complex hummed with energy as dozens of defense systems underwent preliminary testing. Massive quantum shields flared into existence, crystalline barriers refracted deadly energy beams, and temporal displacement fields warped space itself. Among this display of advanced technology, Elena Winters' workspace looked oddly out of place. Instead of the standard weapon testing chambers, her lab contained what appeared to be a small ecosystem. Holographic projections displayed complex biological systems while actual living specimens, carefully contained and ethically sourced, demonstrated natural defense mechanisms. The other participants had taken to calling it the Earth Zoo behind her back. "Your methodology continues to perplex me, Dr. Winters," Commander Vixthor stated, his biomechanical eyes scanning her workspace. "How do these primitive biological specimens relate to advanced defense technology?" Elena gestured to a display showing a slime mold navigating a maze. "Watch this," she said, introducing a hostile chemical into the environment. The organism immediately adapted, restructuring its cellular matrix to neutralize the threat. Nature doesn't just defend, it learns, adapts, and evolves. Her primary workstation displayed the core of her project, an artificial neural network based on Earth's most resilient organisms. The system combined the regenerative capabilities of tardigrades, the distributed intelligence of fungal networks, and the adaptive responses of immune systems. Fascinating but futile, came the dismissive voice of Zyxthar, who had been watching from the doorway. His bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what Elena had learned to recognize as condescension. "While you play with your pets, I've developed a quantum barrier capable of withstanding a neutron star's energy output." Elena remained focused on her work as Zyxthar continued his boasting. Her hands moved deftly across the holographic interface, fine-tuning the neural pathways of her defense system. The latest simulation showed promising results. The system wasn't just blocking attacks, it was learning from them, developing new defensive strategies in real time. "Initialize test sequence alpha," she commanded. The lab's testing chamber activated, generating a series of increasingly powerful energy attacks. Her prototype defense field, barely visible as a slight distortion in the air, responded differently to each assault. Instead of simply absorbing or deflecting the energy, it analyzed the attack patterns and adapted its structure accordingly. Pelmaze, the Medusan scholar, drifted into the lab, their tentacles writhing with curiosity. "Your approach. It defies conventional wisdom," they observed, multiple eyes focusing on the test results. "But these readings, the system's adaptation rate exceeds theoretical limits." Elena smiled, pulling up more detailed analytics. "That's because it's not trying to overpower the attacks. It's learning from them, just like Earth's organisms have learned from environmental challenges for billions of years." The next test sequence demonstrated her point perfectly. When faced with a concentrated plasma burst, the defense field didn't just block it, it analyzed the plasma's composition and adjusted its own energy signature to neutralize it completely. When kinetic projectiles were fired, the field developed a layered structure similar to an abalone shell, one of nature's strongest armor designs. Impossible, Kreldor muttered from where he had gathered with other observers. The Synax warrior scientist's scales bristled with agitation. Defense systems require tremendous power to maintain integrity. Your field is operating at minimal energy levels. Efficiency over power, Elena explained, bringing up a comparison display. An ant can carry 50 times its body weight not because it's incredibly strong, but because it's incredibly efficient. My system works the same way, maximum effectiveness with minimal energy expenditure. As word of her unusual approach spread through the institute, Elena's lab became a point of controversy. Some dismissed her work as primitive and doomed to fail, while others watched with growing interest. Director Nixtal's holographic form made frequent, unannounced appearances, silently observing her progress. During one late-night testing session, Elena made a breakthrough. She had been studying how honeybee colonies defended against multiple threats simultaneously, and something clicked. She modified her system's core algorithms to incorporate swarm intelligence principles. The result was stunning. Her defense field could now split its attention across multiple attack vectors while maintaining its learning capabilities. Project Gaia, run full spectrum analysis, she commanded. The lab systems came alive, subjecting her prototype to every known form of attack in the database. Energy weapons, kinetic impacts, quantum disruption beams, temporal distortions, each one was met with an adaptive response that grew more efficient with each iteration. As she reviewed the test results, Elena felt a mix of excitement and vindication. Her system wasn't just matching the performance of conventional defense technologies, it was surpassing them in key areas. While others focused on creating impenetrable barriers, she had created something that could think, learn, and evolve. But she knew the real challenges lay ahead. The preliminary trials would begin soon, and her competitors wouldn't hold back. Zyxthar, in particular, had been boasting about a new breakthrough in his quantum barrier technology. Yet Elena remained confident. After all, nature had been perfecting the art of survival long before any civilization had dreamed of energy shields. The day of preliminary trials arrived with an electric atmosphere throughout the Galactic Defense Institute. The massive testing arena, a reinforced chamber larger than a planetary stadium, buzzed with anticipation. Observation decks filled with delegates from various worlds, their attention focused on the arena floor where the first trials would begin. Elena stood at her designated station, running final diagnostics on Project Gaia. Around her, other competitors made last-minute adjustments to their systems. Zyxthar's quantum barrier generator hummed ominously, its power core pulsing with enough energy to power a small city. Pelmay's temporal shield rippled the very fabric of spacetime, while Commander Vixthor's crystalline defense matrix gleamed under the arena's lights. Preliminary trials commence in 5 minutes, Director Nixtal's voice echoed through the chamber. Each defense system will undergo standardized testing, followed by pure challenge rounds. Remember, failure to protect against any attack results in immediate elimination. Elena noticed several competitors shooting dismissive glances her way. Her testing station looked almost empty compared to their massive arrays of equipment. Project Gaia's core unit was barely larger than a briefcase, its organic-inspired design a stark contrast to the industrial machinery surrounding her. First round, energy weapon resistance, the announcement came. Standard progression from laser to plasma to quantum disruption. Zyxthar stepped up first, his barrier flaring to life with a thunderous crack. The testing array launched its assault, beginning with simple laser fire before escalating to devastating plasma bursts. His quantum barrier held firm, deflecting each attack with raw power. The observation deck erupted in appreciative murmurs. One by one, competitors demonstrated their defenses. Some succeeded brilliantly, others failed spectacularly. Commander Vixthor's crystal matrix shattered under a particularly intense plasma burst, while Pelme's temporal shield proved remarkably effective until it encountered quantum disruption beams. Then came Elena's turn. She took a deep breath and activated Project Gaia. The defense field shimmed into existence, almost invisible except for a slight distortion in the air. The first laser blast approached, and something unexpected happened. Instead of deflecting or absorbing the beam, the field seemed to analyze it, its structure shifting subtly. Interesting response pattern, one of the technical observers noted, studying their readings. The field is learning. Each subsequent attack was met with an increasingly efficient defense. By the time the quantum disruption beam fired, Project Gaia had evolved multiple layers of protection, each specifically tailored to different energy signatures. The system wasn't just surviving, it was thriving on the challenges. Impossible. Zyxthar's bioluminescence flared with agitation. The power requirements for such adaptability would be astronomical. She must be cheating. Director Nixtal's holographic form materialized near Elena's station. Your system's energy consumption is remarkably low, Dr. Winters. Would you care to explain? Elena pulled up her diagnostic display. Project Gaia doesn't rely on raw power, she explained. Like Earth's living organisms, it prioritizes efficiency and adaptation. Each attack it encounters becomes a learning opportunity, improving its defensive capabilities while minimizing energy usage. The next phase of testing involved kinetic impacts, everything from meteorite velocity projectiles to antimatter charges. Again, Project Gaia's performance defied expectations. The field developed layered structures similar to organic armor, dispersing impact forces in ways that left observers baffled. But it was during the pure challenge rounds that tensions truly peaked. Competitors could now directly test their offensive capabilities against each other's defenses. Zyxthar immediately volunteered to challenge Elena's system. Let's see how your primitive Earth-inspired technology handles this, he sneered, powering up his quantum disruptor to maximum capacity. The energy buildup was so intense that safety protocols triggered warnings throughout the arena. Elena remained calm, trusting in her system. As Zyxthar's attack launched, a beam of pure quantum destruction that could theoretically tear apart molecular bonds, Project Gaia responded in an unprecedented way. The defense field not only absorbed the attack but appeared to study it, its structure rapidly evolving to match and neutralize the quantum frequencies. Fascinating, Pelmes commented, their tentacles writhing with excitement. The system isn't just defending, it's engaging in a form of dialogue with the attack itself. The observation deck erupted in shocked discussions as Zyxthar's supposedly unstoppable weapon proved completely ineffective. His bioluminescent patterns churned with rage and embarrassment as he was forced to power down his overheating equipment. But Elena knew this was just the beginning. The final trials would be far more challenging, and she could see in Zyxthar's eyes that he wasn't finished testing her system. Yet with each challenge, Project Gaia grew stronger, smarter, more adaptive. Just like life on Earth, it was proving that the ability to adapt and learn was far more powerful than brute force alone. The mood in the Galactic Defense Institute had shifted dramatically following the preliminary trials. Elena's success had split the scientific community into two camps, those fascinated by Project Gaia's revolutionary approach, and those who saw it as a threat to conventional defense doctrine. Whispers echoed through the station's corridors about the implications of a human potentially winning the competition. Elena worked late into the night cycle, analyzing data from the previous trials. Project Gaia's performance had exceeded her expectations, but she knew the final tests would be far more demanding. Her lab's holographic displays showed complex patterns of adaptation, each successful defense adding to the system's growing intelligence. A soft chime indicated an unexpected visitor. "Your approach has caused quite a stir, Dr. Winters." Director Nixtal's holographic form materialized beside her workstation. "The Galactic Council is particularly interested in your results." "I sense not everyone shares their enthusiasm," Elena replied, noting the concern in the director's quantum state expressions. "There have been accusations," Nixtal admitted. "Some believe your system harbors unknown risks. A defense mechanism that can learn and evolve, many find the implications disturbing." Before Elena could respond, her lab's security system detected multiple unauthorized access attempts. Someone was trying to hack into Project Gaia's core protocols. She quickly activated additional firewalls, watching as the attack patterns grew increasingly sophisticated. "It seems some of my colleagues are very interested in my research," she noted dryly, her fingers flying over the holographic controls. To her surprise, Project Gaia's defensive algorithms had already adapted to protect against the cyber intrusion, developing new security protocols based on the way human immune systems identify and neutralize threats. The next morning brought the announcement of the final trials. The remaining competitors gathered in the Grand Amphitheater, where Director Nixtal outlined the ultimate challenge. "The final test will push your defensive systems beyond all known limits," his holographic form expanded to fill the chamber. "You will face a coordinated assault from multiple vectors: physical, energy-based, quantum, and temporal. Additionally, your systems must protect not just themselves, but also civilian populations simulated within the testing zone." Elena noticed Zwaxthar's confident smirk. The Proximan scientist had spent the past days modifying his quantum barrier technology, and rumors suggested he had incorporated elements from eliminated competitors' designs. The testing arena had been reconfigured into a sprawling urban environment, complete with holographic civilians going about their simulated lives. Each competitor would need to demonstrate their system's ability to protect this miniature city from devastating attacks. Zwaxthar went first, his enhanced quantum barrier enveloping the test zone in a dome of pure energy. The initial attacks were impressive: antimatter charges, temporal distortion waves, and quantum disruption beams all hammered against his defense. His barrier held, though the power consumption was enormous, causing several substations to overload. When Elena's turn came, she approached the control platform with quiet confidence. Project Gaia activated differently this time. Instead of creating a single barrier, it established multiple interconnected fields throughout the city, reminiscent of a mycelial network. "Beginning assault sequence," the automated system announced. The attack started with a barrage of conventional weapons, missiles, plasma charges, and kinetic penetrators. Project Gaia's fields responded instantly, each sector adapting independently while maintaining communication with the whole network. Then came the quantum phase attacks. Elena watched as her system analyzed each new threat, developing countermeasures that grew more efficient with each passing second. The holographic civilians remained unharmed, going about their simulated routines under Project Gaia's protection. "Remarkable," Pelmaze observed from the monitoring station. The system is creating targeted defensive zones, prioritizing civilian concentrations while maintaining overall coverage. It's almost like watching a living organism protect its vital organs. The final phase of testing introduced a new element, adaptive weapons that could change their attack patterns based on the defender's responses. This was where most conventional shields failed, unable to adjust quickly enough to counter evolving threats. But Project Gaia thrived under these conditions. Like a sophisticated immune system encountering new pathogens, it not only defended against each attack but learned from them, developing increasingly effective countermeasures. The power efficiency readings remained stable, while other systems would have been approaching critical levels. Impossible. Zyxthar's voice cut through the observatory. No defense system can maintain that level of adaptation without massive power consumption. This human must be hiding something. Director Nixtal's holographic form appeared simultaneously at multiple observation points. The readings are clear, competitor Zyxthar. Project Gaia's performance is both legitimate and unprecedented. As the final barrage of attacks concluded, Elena noticed something extraordinary in her system's diagnostic display. Project Gaia hadn't just protected against the attacks, it had created a comprehensive database of defense strategies, each one more refined than the last. The system was evolving faster than anyone had anticipated, approaching a level of sophistication that even Elena hadn't imagined possible. But as she studied the readings more closely, Elena realized that her greatest challenge still lay ahead. The final trial would require each remaining competitor to defend against attacks designed by their peers, and she could see in Zyxthar's bioluminescent patterns that he had been saving something special for this moment. The final day of the Paramount Defense Initiative arrived with an atmosphere of electric tension throughout the Galactic Defense Institute. The observation decks were packed with representatives from every major spacefaring civilization, all eager to witness the culmination of the most ambitious defense technology competition in galactic history. Elena stood at her station, running final diagnostics on Project Gaia while acutely aware of Zyxthar's intense stare from across the arena. The Proximan scientist had spent the last 12 hours in his private lab, and the energy readings from his section of the facility had been off the charts. The final trial will proceed in 2 phases, Director Nixtal announced, his holographic form simultaneously present at all observation points. Phase 1, each finalist must defend against a combined assault featuring every weapon type encountered in previous trials. Phase 2, competitors will launch their own designed attacks against their opponent's defenses. Elena noticed subtle changes in Zyxthar's bioluminescent patterns, a combination of confidence and barely contained aggression. He had been chosen to go first, and his enhanced quantum barrier roared to life with unprecedented power. The automated systems launched their assault. Antimatter charges, temporal distortion waves, quantum disruption beams, and kinetic penetrators all struck simultaneously. Zyxthar's barrier held firm, though the power consumption was enormous. The observation deck erupted in applause as he completed the first phase successfully. Then it was Elena's turn. She took a deep breath and activated Project Gaia. The defense field emerged differently this time. Instead of a conventional barrier, it manifested as an intricate network of interconnected energy patterns, reminiscent of neural pathways. The combined assault began. Project Gaia responded with remarkable efficiency, each attack type encountered being analyzed, understood, and countered with increasing effectiveness. The system wasn't just defending, it was learning, evolving, becoming stronger with each passing second. Extraordinary, Pelmaze commented, their tentacles writhing with scientific excitement. The power efficiency readings are unlike anything we've ever seen. It's actually using less energy as the attacks intensify. Then came Phase 2, the moment Zyxdar had been waiting for. His bioluminescence pulsed with barely contained excitement as he activated his secret weapon. "Let's see how your primitive Earth-inspired technology handles this, human," he sneered. What emerged from his attack platform defied conventional physics. He had created a hybrid weapon that combined quantum disruption, temporal distortion, and dark energy manipulation, a theoretical impossibility that he had somehow made real. The weapon's energy signature was constantly shifting, designed specifically to counter adaptive defense systems. The observation deck fell silent as the attack launched. Even Director Nixtal's holographic forms showed signs of concern. This level of weapons technology hadn't been cleared for testing. It could potentially destabilize the entire station's space-time fabric. But Elena remained calm, trusting in her system's fundamental principles. As Zyxdar's weapon struck Project Gaia's defense field, something remarkable happened. Instead of trying to directly counter the attack, the field began to respond in ways that mimicked Earth's most resilient life forms. Like a school of fish dispersing to avoid a predator, the defense field split into multiple interconnected layers. Like an immune system identifying a new pathogen, it began analyzing and adapting to the weapon's shifting energy patterns. Like a neural network learning from experience, it developed countermeasures that grew more sophisticated with each passing moment. Impossible. Zyxdar increased his weapon's power, pushing it beyond safe limits. No defense system can adapt this quickly. But Project Gaia was doing more than just adapting. It had begun to anticipate the weapon's changes, developing countermeasures before they were even needed. The principles of Earth's evolutionary processes, compressed into microseconds, were proving more powerful than the most advanced weapons technology in the galaxy. Zyxdar's attack eventually faltered, his power core reaching critical levels. Project Gaia remained stable, its defense field actually stronger than when the attack began. The observation deck erupted in astonished discussion as the implications became clear. "The trial is complete," Director Nixtal announced, his quantum state vibrating with barely contained excitement. "Dr. Elena Winters, your Project Gaia has not only survived every attack but has demonstrated capabilities beyond our current understanding of defensive technology." Elena stepped forward to address the assembled gathering. Project Gaia works because it doesn't try to overpower attacks, it learns from them. Earth's organisms have spent billions of years perfecting the art of survival, not through brute force, but through adaptation, efficiency, and evolution. Sometimes the best defense isn't about being the strongest, it's about being the smartest. As the announcement of her victory echoed through the station, Elena couldn't help but smile at the irony. In a competition focused on creating the ultimate defense technology, it wasn't advanced quantum mechanics or exotic energy manipulation that had prevailed. It was the simple, elegant principles that Earth's life had been demonstrating all along: adapt, evolve, survive. The Galactic Defense Institute would never be the same. Project Gaia had opened up entirely new avenues of research, proving that sometimes the most powerful solutions come not from conquering nature, but from understanding and learning from it. Humanity's greatest contribution to galactic defense wasn't a weapon or a shield, it was a reminder that the answers we seek might have been around us all along.